Hey, this is a quick lesson on how you can use the cycle of fourths to help you practice. So what the cycle of fourths is, it's sort of going through the cycle of fifths, but backwards in the reversed order. So an inverted fifth is actually a fourth. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you've never heard of the cycle of fifths, I have a lesson on it in my online courses. In my beginner music theory course, there's a lesson on key signatures, and that kind of talks about what the cycle of fifths is and everything. But the cycle of fourths is just literally going backwards through the cycle of fifths. And why this would be something that's useful for you to use when you're trying to practice is because in a lot of tunes, the changes have a tendency to move in fourths. You see these kind of chord movements a lot in actual songs. So practicing through the cycle of fourths can be really helpful when you then go ahead and try and apply some of the stuff you've been working on to some tunes. This is going to be a super fast lesson. I just wanted to talk about maybe how to use the cycle of fourths to practice scales, how we can use the cycle of fourths to practice some chords, and also how we can use the cycle of fourths to memorize the notes on our fretboard. So first, I want to talk about how we can use the cycle of fourths to practice some scales. So the first idea that I've got here is taking a scale, like one octave major scale. I'm using major scales, but it can be anything, right? So this is a one octave C major scale. Now, then what I would do is, now I'm on my sort of 8th fret here to play that scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and go through the entire cycle of fourths without moving from this area of my fretboard as much as possible. So that was the cycle of fourths. I'm using major scales. I'm playing major scales through the cycle of fourths, and I'm trying not to change my positioning too much. Okay, one thing I wanted to talk about was using the cycle of fourths to practice chords. So we can sort of apply the same thinking that we did for the last exercise, where we're sort of not changing positions through the entire cycle, but this time to chords. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play major triads, starting with a C. This time I'm going to try and focus on my 3rd fret, like around this position, and I'm going to try my best to get through the cycle without, moving too much across the fretboard, like staying in the same position through the cycle of fourths. So here we go. So that was moving chord positions without changing, the area of the fretboard that I'm working with. Another thing that we can do is we can try and work on arpeggios. And for this, I can even just try and arpeggiate through the cycle and not worry too much about positions. Like I can kind of go just through the cycle, but arpeggiating the chords instead of playing them outright. So Finally, I wanted to show you how you can use the cycle of fourths to help you to memorize the notes on your fretboard. So what we can do is there's actually two ways we can do this. So the first way is by going through the cycle of fourths on one string at a time. So that would kind of look like this. And we can do that on every string. And the next one too. And the last way that we can do that exercise is by going through the entire cycle, like on every string. So I'll explain what I mean by that. So that's just a couple of ways that you can use the cycle of fourths to help you out when you're practicing. You know, obviously it's not limited to those couple of things, but this is just meant to be a quick lesson to introduce you to the concept if you're new to it, and you know, you can always expand on it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.